the untold story of the farmer boy who shockingly changed Ford's fate forever. In a world where secrets simmer beneath the surface, one boy stumbled upon a revelation that would ignitively shake the very foundations of American industry. Jonas Whitaker, just 12, with dirt-streaked cheeks and wild, bright eyes, found himself knee-deep in a discovery that history desperately tried to bury. The sun was setting over his family's small farm, casting eerie shadows that danced rhythmically across the rusted machinery scattered about a forgotten relic of a once-thriving enterprise. But tonight was different tonight. The air crackled with anticipation. It began with a whisper, a local legend of an old factory, hidden deep in the woods, untamed and abandoned for decades. Folklore surrounded it like a storm, speaking of revolutionary inventions that could change the world. And Jonas, fueled by youthful curiosity, cracked open the door to this mystery. His heart raced as he imagined what treasures he could find. What if, just what if, there was something there that could uplift his struggling family? The thought clung to him, suspense thumping in his chest like a wild drum as he pushed through the Victorian overgrowth. Each step sent a shiver up his spine. The ancient trees loomed like enormous guardians of lost dreams. He had heard the tales of others who ventured near, tales licked with fear, left with just scars as reminders. Yet, every sliver of doubt fell away as he recalled the blueprints he found in his father's drawer, ghastly scribbles of a forgotten design, outlined in fading ink that beckoned to be brought back to life. Just what could that machine do? But the woods wrapped themselves around him. Shadows twisted, darkness thickened, and suddenly, a sound cut through the silence, a metallic clang followed by an indiscernible murmuring that sent his skin crawling. Was he truly alone? Was someone else drawn to the whispers of the factory? Uncertainty gnawed at him, yet the allure was too strong to resist. He edged closer, heart pounding like a stampede in his ears. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As he glanced back, the path vanished behind him, swallowed whole by the looming shadows. A sense of foreboding gripped him. Would the history he sought be a path to glory or a descent into chaos? The anticipation felt electric, sparking hope and fear alike. Then he slipped into the clearing, a breath caught in his throat. There it was, the factory, dark, grimy, and somehow alive. Its facade loomed like a sleeping beast. What secrets did it hide? What echoes of the past awaited discovery? As he stood frozen at the threshold of fate, would he step forward or collapse under the weight of destiny? The moment Jonas set foot on the dirt path leading to the factory, a rush of cold wind sent shivers racing down his spine. The entrance loomed ominously, its gaping maw shadowed by twisted metal and crumbling bricks. A flicker of doubt slithered through his mind. Was this truly worth the risk? But his family's struggles pushed him onward. He needed to uncover whatever lay within this monstrous shell of a bygone era. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the darkness. The air was stale, thick with the scent of rust and decay. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed fading murals on the walls, pictures of industrious workers, bright-eyed and full of hope. Had they known the future that awaited them? Or were they just cogs in a machine, blind to the tides of fate? Jonas's heart thundered. He could hear the faint sound of metal grinding, seemingly echoing from the depths of the building. He crept forward, his feet crunching on broken glass that sparkled like fallen stars beneath the dim light. Shadows danced, casting distorted shapes that felt almost alive around him, gnawing at his resolve. Umbers of forgotten machinery loomed around him, each one a monument to dreams and ambitions that had once thrived. He couldn't shake the feeling that an unseen pair of eyes were watching. His fingers brushed against the surface of one of the larger machines, and he felt a pulse beneath the cold steel, a stirring of energy, as if it longed to be awoken. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed behind him. He whipped around, heart racing. Silence engulfed him like a thick fog. Was someone else here? The story spoke of strange noises, of shadows that shouldn't exist, of remnants of lost souls wandering through the empty hallways. Jonas swallowed hard. This was truly a place suspended between dreams and nightmares. Gathering what little courage he had left, he pressed onward. Each room he entered was a time capsule, filled with remnants, the dusty tools, fading plans, and even a chalkboard speckled with forgotten calculations. Then he saw it. A machine unlike anything he'd ever imagined. It sparkled amid the debris, holding an air of majesty despite the years that had ravaged it. Jonas's breath caught in his throat. The blueprints his father had stashed away. This machine, perhaps the very design from those ghastly scribbles, could hold the key to transforming not just his family's fortunes, but possibly the entire industry. But the air sharpened around him, a chill creeping down his spine. From the corner of his eye, he thought he saw a figure lingering in the shadows. Faint whispers danced through the air, like threads of sound pulling at his resolve. Doubt crushed his excitement, panic threading its way into his heart. Should he turn back? Or was stepping deeper into the unknown his only path forward? The whispers intensified, and he felt the very walls of the factory embrace him, urging him to uncover its secrets. He took a step back, terrified yet exhilarated. Jonas knew he stood at a precipice between magic and madness. His family's future could rest on the discoveries hidden within these walls. Then, just as quickly, the ground trembled beneath him, and the metallic clang rang out again, louder this time, a clear call from the depths. Jonas gasped. Who or what was really down here? Would he be the one to wake whatever slumbered in the shadows? As darkness thickened around him, he realized he had to choose. Stand back and lose this chance forever, or dive into the unknown and risk everything for a glimmer of hope. The choice felt insurmountable as he teetered on the brink. A chilling voice whispered from the dark corners. You shouldn't have come here, now you belong to the secrets. Jonas's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage like a drum demanding to be heard. He turned, his eyes darting through the shadows, searching for the source of that unnerving voice. Who's there? He stammered, the tremor in his voice betraying his fear. The silence hung thick around him, and for a moment, all he could hear was the frantic rhythm of his pulse, drowning out the metallic echoes that had first beckoned him. Just as he began to doubt his senses, the air seemed to shift. A figure stepped from the shadows, a woman dressed in tattered clothing, her face obscured by a hood. Her presence felt ethereal, almost ghost-like, yet the intensity of her gaze locked onto his. You shouldn't have come, she repeated, her voice a whisper mingled with an unnatural resonance. This place, it holds more than you can imagine. More than I can imagine? Jonas breathed, adrenaline surging through him. What do you mean? Are you a spirit of this factory? She stepped closer, revealing a glimpse of her face, and a wave of familiarity crashed over him. The lines etched on her face mirrored those in his mother's. Fear sank in deeper, like a knife twisting in his gut. No, I'm not a spirit. I'm real. But many of us are trapped here, bound by the dreams that once ignited this factory and the nightmares that followed. The woman gestured to the looming machinery surrounding them. What had once sparked life and hope now stood like sentinels of a forgotten era. Jonas felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. Was his search for a brighter future spiraling into something darker? What happened here? He demanded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Her eyes glinted with a mix of sorrow and anger. Greed, ambition. Your father's dreams turned to ash when the factory went under. But it didn't die, something took its place. Something that feasts on those unknowing. Before he could process her words, the ground shuddered again, a tremor that arose with a low growl from the bowels of the structure. Jonas stumbled, gripping a rusted beam for support. The machine, it does belong to my father? Your father could have changed everything. But the price was too great. She pulled the hood back, and Jonas's breath caught again. Her features were too familiar now. Wait, Are you? I am his past, she interjected, cutting him off. And now you must face what has been awakened. Jonas felt the weight of her gaze, and dread coursed through him like icy water. He was caught in a tangle of past sacrifices and looming uncertainties, faced with the truth no one could escape. Awakened? What do you mean? He pressed, desperation clawing at him. The tremors grew more violent, and the metal around them creaked ominously. It was as if the very factory was coming to life, shifting and groaning under an unseen force. With a sharp inhale, the woman gripped Jonas's arm tightly, bringing him back into focus. Your choice now is crucial. The heart of this place is vulnerable. If you proceed, you risk losing everything, and you may find not just your father's legacy, but a danger that shadows it. His mind raced back to the blueprints and hopes of bright futures. Doubt clouded his vision. Did he dare continue into the heart of this legacy? What happens if I go forward? Jonas asked, trembling. He who seeks the truth must brace for the cost. But know this, whatever you find may redefine your fate, she warned, her voice trembling under the weight of her knowledge. Before Jonas could respond, a loud clang reverberated through the silence, and a dark cloud of dust erupted from a nearby corner, obscuring the entrance. He felt the factory shift around him, walls closing in, shadows stretching like grasping fingers, and then she whispered, "You belong to the secrets. Will you let them consume you?" As the shadows deepened, he prepared to take a step forward, but hesitated at the precipice of fear and hope. Could he be the spark that reignited dreams, or was he stepping into an abyss? In the growing darkness, a piercing scream echoed faintly, and Jonas's breath quickened in panic. He peered into the gloom, a new question rising in his chest. What had he awakened? What awaited him in this haunted heart of machinery and memories? Fate had woven its thread through the factory's depths, and now it was time for him to unravel it or become a part of it forever. Jonas squinted into the swirling dust, panic rising like bile in his throat. The scream echoed again, reverberating through the darkness, chilling him to the bone. Shadows danced just beyond his line of sight. The figure of the woman beside him was now swallowed by the obscuring veil of dust, leaving him alone in a vast void of uncertainty. "Stay close," he shouted, his voice cracking, but the air answered only with silence, heavy and thick. Jonas took a tentative step forward, his heart pounding in his ears. The machinery loomed around him, hulking and monstrous, yet he felt compelled to push deeper into the factory's heart. Each step felt like a weight pulling him down, the lingering dread mixing with an unquenchable curiosity. What was this legacy his father had left? Images of blueprints and half-formed dreams flickered in his mind. If he turned back now, would he always wonder? Or could he uncover the truth, the secret that the woman had hinted at? "Jonas!" A voice suddenly pierced through the silence laced with urgency. His heart leaped. "Is that you?" Moments passed, teasing him with the hope that maybe she had returned. But as he called again, the only answer was the low groan of the machinery. He stumbled further into the darkness, his breath shallow and ragged. The air around him was electric, crackling with an eerie energy that sent shivers up his spine. Then he spotted the faint glow of a light up ahead, flickering like a beacon in the storm of shadows. Jonas quickened his pace, hope igniting the corners of his fear. As he drew nearer, the shape of a large control panel came into view, its buttons and levers covered in a thick layer of dust. Yet the light emanated from an oil lamp resting atop the console. He reached out to touch it, fingers brushing against the grimy surface when bang! The factory shuddered again, a deep rumble that felt like the world was ripping apart. The ground beneath him vibrated violently, and the light flickered ominously. "Not yet," he shouted instinctively, more to himself than anything else. "I need to know." He grabbed one of the levers and pulled, but nothing happened. A sense of frustration bubbled up. Did he dare try again? Behind him, the shadows shifted, the dark swirling again, an energy faintly whispering promises of power and control. He could feel it beckoning him, enticing him to dive deeper into the secrets of the past. Then from the corner of his eye, he spotted movement of figure, just at the edge of the lamplight. His heart stopped. Was it her? Are you ready to face what lies ahead? The voice was a guttural growl, twisting and echoing off the walls, reverberating like a haunting lullaby. Who are you? Jonas shouted back, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. The specter of the woman flickered again, wavering like the light in front of him, and he could sense that whatever this was, a confrontation was imminent. In this factory, we all pay a price for truth. The voice snarled, disembodied and low, and some truths are buried too deep for a boy to uncover. Jonas shivered, contemplating the cost of what he was about to do. A choice loomed in front of him, just as tangible as the controls he grappled with. What if he pulled that lever and awakened something terrible? Yet the thought of walking away empty-handed felt like a death sentence, leaving his father's legacy to rot in these decaying walls. Before he could reach a conclusion, a sudden burst of wind swept through the factory, extinguishing the lamp in an instant, plunging him into pitch-black darkness. He felt a gasp escape his lips as shadows surrounded him, the figures overwhelming, pulsing with a life of their own. Jonas, the whisper thrummed close. What will it be? Light or shadow? Truth or oblivion? Every fiber of his being screamed for him to act. Igniting the light meant confronting the unknown, but to embrace the shadows was to lose everything he sought to understand. With a deep breath, Jonas's hand found the lever again, hovering for just a moment, fighting against the whirlwind of fear and determination within him. Finally, he pulled hard, determined to face whatever demons lay ahead. And then silence. Everything stilled, waiting, poised like a breath held in anticipation. What awaited him in this darkened vacuum? In the heart of his father's factory, was he about to unleash a new monster, or awaken long-dormant dreams? Jonas's heart thundered as he stared into the void, an answer just out of reach. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Jonas stood frozen, hands still gripping the lever as if it were the only thing tethering him to reality. Shadows twisted around him, thick and alive, weaving tales of the past through the air. A low hum began to resonate within the walls, softly at first, like the stirring of a slumbering beast. The ground vibrated beneath him, sending jolts of anxiety spiraling through his body. Had he awakened something that should have remained buried? The thought clawed at him, but there was no turning back now. Speak to me, he urged, his voice shaky yet defiant. What are you? Suddenly, from the depths of blackness, a figure began to emerge, outlined against the void. It flickered like a candle caught in a gust. Jonas squinted, trying to comprehend what was taking shape before him. It was a woman, not unlike the figure he'd seen earlier, but this one appeared translucent, ethereal. Jonas, she whispered, her voice a meld of sorrow and resolve, as if she bore the weight of countless regrets. You must listen, the factory holds secrets that could alter everything. Who are you? He demanded, though uncertainty trembled in his chest. What do you want from me? I am a guardian of truths, she said, her form pulsing as if she were resisting the very air itself. But there is a choice to be made. A choice you may not be ready to bear. Jonas felt electricity coursing through the factory as the energy swelled. What choice? I need to know what I'm facing. Your father's legacy, it feeds on fear, she warned, shadows swirling around her like dark smoke. And if you release it, you must confront the darkness within yourself. Breath hitching, Jonas wrestled with the gravity of her words. Was his curiosity worth the risk of unearthing something horrifying? A chilling realization dawned. Everything he thought he knew might crumble into bleak nothingness. Do I even have a choice? He questioned, voice barely a whisper now, caught between dread and the fiery urge for discovery. Yes, but the truth will change everything, the woman said, her features growing clearer for a brief moment. It is a darkness that promises power but can slay the soul. Do not rush blindly into it. Just then, the air crackled again, louder and more intense. With it came a rush of wind, sending the shadows into a frenetic dance. The woman's image wavered, but he could see the urgency in her eyes. If you proceed, I'm not afraid, Jonas interrupted, but he knew the words were a facade, a shield against the thundering echo of his heart. Yet you do not understand. The shadows surged, igniting around her as light burst forth from the control panel. It became a flurry of activity, dial lights flashing, machinery awakening from its long slumber. The noise escalated to a deafening roar as gears began to turn, responding to his earlier command. The woman's form flickered more violently now, and he could feel the pull of something dark and sinister unraveling in the depths of the factory. Jonas, remember, the truth bites and devours. Jonas's stomach dropped, his fingers trembling against the lever as the panels around him blazed to life. The secrets of the factory began spilling into the air like an unleashed tide, but he had no idea what would emerge in that radiant chaos. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind him, shadows converging into an overwhelming mass. "What have you done?" The growl rumbled again. Sharper and more menacing, he turned, pulse racing as fear seized him anew. What had he unleashed? The shadows were now thickening, becoming a tangible threat, hungry for something, maybe for him. "Run!" The woman shouted, desperation etched into her ghostly features. But would running mean fleeing the only chance he had to uncover the truth of his father's legacy? Frozen with uncertainty, he made a split-second decision. With the shadows closing in, Jonas had to brace himself for what lay ahead, knowing that in this moment, the past and the future would collide in a cataclysmic showdown of light and dark. And as chaos erupted around him, a surge of raw energy, Jonas knew he had to choose: face the monster or become one himself. The growling shadows twisted violently, shaping themselves into grotesque forms that teetered on the line between nightmare and reality. Jonas's heart raced as he stumbled backward, the screams of machinery drowning out his thoughts. Every instinct screamed for him to flee, yet he was rooted where he stood, pinned by the weight of his father's legacy and the uncertainty of what lay ahead around him. The factory shook like a beast in pain, metal shrieking and gears grinding, as if the entire structure was awakening from a years-long slumber. A jolt of energy coursed through the floor, reverberating up his legs and seizing him with primal fear. He could feel the rush of cold air mingle with the heat of his panic, his breath hitching in his throat. "Stay with me?" The woman's voice pierced through the chaos, her outline now flickering dangerously, seemingly losing her grip on this world. Gritting his teeth, Jonas couldn't help but shout back, "What do I do? What does it want from me?" "The darkness seeks a vessel," she cried, the shadows spiraling around her, grasping at her translucent form. "It wants to find a way out, to feed on fear and despair. It knows your heart, Jonas." His gut twisted as he processed her words. It knew him? What had he uncovered? In that moment, a realization dawned: his very existence might bear consequences he had never imagined. The legacy wasn't simply an inheritance of power. It was a burden wrapped in grief and resentment. Beneath the panic, flickers of resolve ignited within him. He remembered his father, how he had toiled late into the night, how he had held onto his secrets like precious stones. If there was a way to confront this darkness, might that also lead to understanding the man he had long sought to know? He took a step forward, the lever still warm beneath his palm. "If it wants a vessel, then let it come. I will not be devoured without a fight." Before he could process the weight of his words, an ear-splitting roar erupted from the shadows, a cacophony that rattled his bones. Figures lunged forward, twisted faces filled with rage and despair looming large, eyes glowing with malevolence. He braced himself, every hair on his body standing on end, as scattered memories flashed before him: the laughter of his childhood, the smell of fresh grass, and the heavy weight of unspoken truths. "Chase down the truth. You can't hide from what you fear," the woman urged, her voice struggling against the noise. She flickered brighter, her form almost solidifying, and for a fleeting moment, Jonas could see the sadness etched into her features. "You hold the key, but it will also unleash the storm." The words hung in the air, heavy and electric. Jonas clenched his jaw, vision narrowing on the mass before him. If he had awakened this power, then maybe he could learn to control it. But could he handle it? Suddenly, the shadows surged, smashing toward him in a wave of darkness. On instinct, he yanked the lever, and an eruption of light burst forth from the control panel, illuminating the factory in a blinding brilliance that pushed back against the encroaching dark. But as the radiant energy spread, he realized something shocking. A reflection of his own fear stared back at him from the shadows. They were born from him. A scream ripped from his lips, but it was drowned out as a flash of light sent a wave cascading through the room. The shadows recoiled, howling with an unnatural rage, and for just a heartbeat, Jonas felt empowered. But there was more power, more darkness clamoring beneath the surface. The woman reached out, urgency etched into her form. Now, you have to confront it now. Let it flow through you. Don't fight it. Determined, Jonas stepped into the light, his heart pounding as he prepared to embrace the shadows within and face the truth once and for all. And as he plunged into the maelstrom between light and dark, a question echoed through the chaos: who would he become when the truth finally emerged? The fire of the light swirled around Jonas, wrapping him in its warmth, fierce and blinding, yet holding a strange allure. His heart raced, hammering like a drum, both frantic and determined. The shadows screamed in outrage, morphing and twisting, their forms writhing in agony as they retreated from the brilliance. "Feel it," the woman urged, her voice echoing against the walls like a symphony amidst chaos. "Allow the anger, the pain to flow through you. It is part of you." With each thud of his heart, Jonas could sense the shadows pushing against the light. They clawed at his consciousness, whispering his fears, dredging old memories that felt like barbs piercing his mind. The laughter of his father, the abandonment before the world soaked it all away, and the nagging doubt, a voice taunting him, reminding him he was just like the darkness behind the faces. "No," he shouted, breaking free of their grasp. He couldn't deny the truth anymore. It was burning bright within him. He closed his eyes, focusing on the warmth radiating from the light. Images flickered. His father hunched over a desk, the small workshop filled with smoke and whispers of machinery. The late nights and early mornings, the legacy bound by sacrifice and pain. Every moment he shunned, every fear he tried to avoid, all surged forward like a tidal wave. "No more hiding," Jonas yelled, embracing the truth in a single flood, merging the warmth of the light with the darkness intertwined in his veins. His soul expanded and trembled as he opened his eyes, finding the shadows stopped their flailing, watching him a moment of eerie stillness. Suddenly, the room crackled with energy. A fissure seemed to part the air, revealing another layer of reality, darker and tenebrous. There, amid the shadows, a figure pulsed like a heartbeat, its form both terrifying and mesmerizing. "Jonas," the figure called, its voice drenched in malice yet carrying a haunting familiarity. "You think you can choose? You are nothing but the last light in a world of darkness. Come to me." And as it reached for him, a wave of cold swept through him, freezing everything in its path. Fear struck Jonas like a bolt of lightning. Every instinct told him to flee. His skin prickled, and his breath came in gasps, torn between the urge to submit and the desire to fight. "Jonas, focus," the woman cried. "You cannot let it win. You are stronger than this." He gritted his teeth. The shadows flickered, desperate for him to yield. But deep down there was a simmering fire, a reminder of his father's sacrifice, of every moment spent fighting for not just a legacy but a future free of chains. With newfound clarity, Jonas thrust his hands forward, pouring essence and essence, gravity meeting light. The shadows shrieked, overwhelmed by the brightness. He could feel every muscle in his body pulsing with power, strength flooding through him, and with it, he faced the terrible figure. "Enough!" he roared, igniting the light within until it burst forth like a supernova, engulfing the shadows and shattering their grip on reality. They collapsed with a roar, swirling into oblivion as Jonas felt himself suspended in that moment of clarity. But even as he fought, an unsettling thought crept in. What had he just unleashed? The factory shuddered, the ground trembling beneath him, and with one final flash, Jonas felt the power ripple through him. The line he crossed between light and shadow began to crack. Even the shadows that had faded left a lingering echo, a challenge still waiting in the darkness as the chaos settled. A single whisper reached Jonas's ears, soft yet penetrating, a promise that the battle was far from over. "You've just begun to scratch the surface, Jonas." He staggered back, eyes wide, breathless. What had he awakened both within himself and in the shadows? A laugh curled through the air, enticing and dreadful, promising far greater horrors. And as the truth loomed, Jonas knew he faced more than just a battle against the darkness. He was about to walk a path that would change everything. Who would stand before him next? What unraveling fate awaited him as the shadows loomed closer, ready for their moment of revenge? The air grew thick with tension. Jonas, still reeling from the flash of light that had surged through him, glanced around the now quiet factory. Not a sound echoed but the faint, unsettling whispers of the shadows still clinging to the corners. They recoiled, no longer as brazen, but he could feel their hunger. "Focus on the light," the woman urged from behind him, her presence somehow anchored in the chaos. "It's your only weapon against what's coming." But Jonas felt a flicker of doubt. He was strong, but was he strong enough? The memory of that chilling voice haunted him, and he could almost see the figure's eyes boring into his soul, promising torment and despair. Each breath he took felt heavy, as if the shadows were pressing down on him, determined to reclaim their territory. He stumbled forward, keeping his fists clenched. Every step was riddled with uncertainty, but he pushed on. A faint glimmer among the debris caught his eye, pieces of machinery, remnants of what once was. He knelt to examine them, his fingers brushing against cold metal. They stirred old memories, ones of creation, innovation, the spirit of a father who built things from nothing. Perhaps these remnants held the key to his salvation. "Don't stray too far." The woman's voice broke through his thoughts, sharp with urgency. But Jonas couldn't help it. Inspiration pulsed within him, igniting the strength of memory. He grabbed a small gear from the ground, its rusted edges blending time with the present. He envisioned his father tinkering, constructing, breathing life into lifeless metal. The fire in Jonas's heart flared back to life, the light surged through him. Suddenly, the shadows swirled more intensely. They were regathering. He could hear their whispers grow louder, a cacophony of despair attempting to drown out his resolve. The figure materialized again, now more defined, its edges sharper, eyes glimmering with malintent. "Jonas," it beckoned, voice smooth as silk yet edged with steel. "You think this is strength? The light you cling to is weak. You belong with us." "No," Jonas shouted, channeling everything he had into that memory of warmth, light, and his father's spirit. "I don't belong to the darkness." The figure snarled, the shadows twisting violently in anger. In that moment, Jonas understood. He wasn't just a beacon of light. He was a bridge between two worlds. With a defiant roar, he thrust the gear forward, willing it to absorb the essence of everything he fought for. The room erupted again with the brilliant light. The shadows writhed, shrieking in confusion and terror. "No, you can't!" With all his might, Jonas unleashed the pure energy of both realms. The gear sparked, and a shockwave cascaded through the space, colliding with the darkness. Instincts took over, and Jonas felt the vibrations shift as he focused, pulling the raw energy from both sides. Then came the backlash. The shadows recoiled, but it was more than just a retreat. The factory around Jonas began to tremble, walls quaking like the earth had split. He held on, heart pounding. This felt bigger than him. It was a reckoning, a balance, or perhaps a breaking point. "Jonas, it's too much," the woman cried out, but his heart beat louder than her warning. He was ready, his focus unwavering amidst the chaos. But then, just as quickly as it started, silence crashed over the room. The shadows halted, teetering on the edge, and Jonas's breath hitched. They looked to him, but beyond them, another presence stirred the depths of darkness, unfurling like the petals of a blackened flower, revealing something much larger and sinister than he could have ever anticipated. With one final breath, Jonas prepared for a confrontation that felt more significant than the shadows themselves. Who or what awaited him behind that weighty silence? The question loomed, echoing in the void, leaving his mind spinning as he braced for whatever monster would emerge next. The silence was suffocating. Jonas felt the weight of it pressing down on him like a 1,000-pound stone. The shadows had stilled, and so had his heart, vibrating with anticipation. He could feel adrenaline coursing through his veins, heart racing like a wild horse galloping through an open field. What emerged from the shadows felt more than just sinister. It had an intelligence that sent icy tendrils spiraling down his spine. Then it appeared, a figure cloaked entirely in darkness, woven from midnight fabric and the screams of forgotten souls. It loomed before him, imposing and majestic, a contrast to everything he stood for. "You really think you can fight me?" The figure rasped, its voice echoing like the groans of the factory's ancient machinery. "You think your light has power? Look around you." Jonas blinked, taking in his surroundings once more. The remnants of the factory, once filled with life, were now dulled and forsaken, overtaken by tendrils of darkness that clung to walls like cobwebs. "This place is a graveyard, Jonas. A tribute to the futility of hope. You're just as trapped as they are." He clenched his fists, but the chill of despair crept in, gnawing at his resolve. "You're wrong," he shouted, voice echoing, quaking. "I won't let you take me." With every ounce of strength, he summoned the light within him. It crackled and popped, desperate to fight back against the encroaching darkness. He could see the shadows around the edges of its cloak writhing, agitated, sensing the threat of his defiance. The figure's glimmering eyes narrowed with annoyance transforming into rage. The factory trembled again, a disturbing resonance of power shifting within its cracked walls. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, a tidal wave of despair and malice racing toward him. Jonas stood firm, summoning everything he had, feel the warmth of his father's legacy mingling with his own spirit. "I fight for everyone," he shouted back at the figure. "I fight for my past, for the love that ignites my spirit." In that moment, the gears he had grasped earlier sparked with renewed vigor. He thrust them forward, unleashing a torrent of blinding light, colliding with the darkness in a spectacular explosion. The figure recoiled, its form distorting as Jonas's light sliced through the oppressive blackness. But the darkness wasn't finished. It fought back with fervor and ferocity, coiling like a snake around the light, weaving in and out, seeking to smother the brilliance Jonas threw into the fray. The screams of the shadows crescendoed around him. They were frantic, desperate to escape his resolve. "Join me," the figure howled. "Accept your fate. Embrace the shadows and I will give you power beyond your dreams." For a heartbeat, Jonas hesitated. Power? It would be so easy. To give in. To let that promise sink into him. To feel it cradle and consume. But yet, the memory of his father's calloused hands, the warmth of his late-night stories flooded back, drowning out the whispers of temptation. "No!" he screamed, his voice ragged as the light burst further, flames burning brighter and purer. "I'll never join you." But the figure's laugh echoed through the wreckage, chilling him to the bone. "Then we'll see how far your defiance takes you, Jonas. You cannot win this battle without sacrificing something precious." And just as the shadows surged again, breaking through Jonas's relentless light, something shattered within him, a bond, a memory, a glimmer of hope. He gasped as pain lanced through his chest. The darkness seeped into the cracks of his being, dragging him closer, closer. What price would he pay to stand against this darkness? What horror awaited him next? Would Jonas find the strength to reclaim what was his? Or would he lose it all in the shroud of shadows? As fear clawed at him, the answer hung heavily in the air, waiting to be revealed. The shadows lunged like ravenous beasts, howling around Jonas, battering him with waves of despair. He stood center stage in this twisted theater of darkness, heart pounding. The figure before him, an embodiment of malice, loomed larger than life, thriving on his fear. Jonas could feel his pulse throbbing in his throat and imagined the jagged edges of despair clawing at his soul. But then, amidst the chaos, clarity pierced through. Memories of his father flooded back, sweat-drenched nights spent dreaming up machines, every tinkered gadget a testament to hope. Jonas's breath steadied. He would not be a prisoner of shadows today. No, this time he would fight back. With renewed determination, he raised his hands, drawing from the core of light that anchored his spirit. The darkness recoiled as his resolve shimmered, sending ripples of energy crackling through the air. I fight for those who came before me, he roared, fire igniting deep within his chest. And I refuse to be swallowed by despair. The dark figure snarled, eyes flashing with rage. You think mere words can save you? Sacrifice is needed for power. The shadows coiled menacingly, making Jonas feel like a pendulum caught in time, swinging between the safety of light and the pull of darkness. But deep inside him, Jonas held the essence of choice. Even if I have to sacrifice, I want to let you win. He closed his eyes, focused. The warmth of his father's legacy filled him, and with every beat of his heart, the light grew. The machinery around him throbbed in response, and the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as if answering his call. The remnants of the factory sprang to life. Cogs turned rapidly, gears clicked into place, a symphony of labor long forgotten. Bright light erupted all around him, illuminating the factory with a fierce brilliance. The dark figure recoiled, snarling as the shadows thrashed in chaotic rebellion. Jonas, remember this, the woman had said, her voice reverberating through the chaos. The truth you seek is part of you. In that moment, he realized the truth sacrifices were the essence of progress, of memory, intertwined in the web of legacy. I will fight not just for myself, but for everyone trapped in your darkness. For my father. For all of you. Jonas summoned every ounce of strength, pushing past fear, releasing the energy he gathered within. A torrent of light erupted forth, striking the figure as shadows cracked and shattered around Jonas. No, the figure roared, the force of Jonas's light splitting darkness like paper. This isn't over for an eternal heartbeat. Silence washed over the factory, an eerie calm settling. The figure stumbled, light spilling, dissipating the shadows like a thin veil being lifted. In that vibrant clarity, Jonas saw faces emerging workers who toiled in this very space, now freed from their cursed bindings. Thank you, they whispered in unison, their voices intertwining like a soft hymn. With a surge of clarity, Jonas recognized their pain. Their hope rekindled through him. The dark figure struggled one last time against the tide of brilliance, but slowly faded into nothingness, screams echoing, swallowed by the liberation that surrounded Jonas. As the shadows evaporated, Jonas felt a weight lift. He had faced the abyss and emerged stronger not just for himself but for everyone tangled in the factory's haunted legacy. The flickering remnants of the spirit stood beside him, lighter now, filled with gratitude. You embraced what was yours, Jonas. You altered fates. Jonas felt the heat of her words wrap around him like a warm embrace. I couldn't have done it without you, he admitted softly. All of you. The factory around him shimmered, reshaping with new potential. Rusted machinery stirred, taking on forms of invention with renewed purpose. I can create something beautiful from this, a future that honors our past, he promised aloud, vision clear. The echoes of the past felt lighter, their burdens lifted as he stepped firmly into his father's legacy. Though Jonas had faced darkness, he emerged with the light not to erase what was lost but to build upon it, forging a path made of hope. And with that, as the first rays of dawn broke through the factory windows, flooding the space with brilliance, Jonas felt a sense of peace. This was the end of one journey but the beginning of another. A path not just forward for him, but for all who believed in the power of legacy. This was his moment. And now, dear audience, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you breathless. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about how Jonas changed the fate of the factory forever. And wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Your support is everything. Don't just be a spectator, be part of this incredible journey.